Good afternoon from Yami B TV. Wishing you all well, of course, right? Now, a case in some ways that we've covered as well. We did the Dark Phone documentary the other day on from Channel 4, which many of you would have seen. Well, today was the day in the last hour or so of the day of reckoning for all parties who got somehow wrapped up in that Encro chat madness, right? So the sentences being handed out are really, and remember, no one has been murdered as far as what I know. Well, if you base it on the charges, ammunition with intent to endanger life, a firearm with intent to endanger, ketamine, etc., various lot of charges. Sentences ranging from 36 years, 33, 35. But James Rothwell, who I believe is first on the indictment, has just got 43 years. Wow. Not even a murder. You know, the other thing I was thinking about with that documentary, even though we found it quite compelling and realistic and great insight to how it can all unfold dramatically for criminals thinking they're safe using encrypted phones, so to speak, right? Now, the blame game comes into, because we are aware that James Rothwell, whilst in Manchester, the old Strangeways, was alleged to have been targeted with a knife, right? Now, with all that unrest and blaming game, who's to blame, who got nicked first, how did they get onto me, and how this is what all that paranoia from that life has done. And it ends up, and there's still more to be sentenced, I think, today or tomorrow, I don't know, but I think there's another 5 or 6 names to be sentenced. But his barrister, Rothwell, and the other thing I was going to say to you, they were saying on that programme that they were from big dons and big heads from Warrington. My information tells me that they were originally from Salford, and this little beef thing between A-Team and so-called anti-team, I don't know too much, well, I'm not going to say too much about it, has been going on for quite some time. But to me, the information that I get is that they've been put higher up than what they really were. I'm hearing that after the sad death of Paul Massey, that these lot involved in the latest coup, the ones I'm talking from down that neck of the woods down north, were known as quite posh boys, money men, and that kind of thing, but not on the scale of some other bigger villains that we've talked about on Yami B TV. But they've ended up with sentences that are suggesting that. Or is this just a warning for people? But his barrister turned around, James Rothwell, and said, you know, since the attack in Strangeways, he has to stay in isolation because of comebacks, that possible hits on him because they might be believing this and they're saying that, that maybe the blame game falls more on him. We don't know if that's factual. Well, I just say sometimes this is the way when a couple of bits, there's always a starting of a case where someone might not do it intentionally to bring down everybody else, but the police can react off that bit to put that bit and all those bits together. But, you know, bitter people don't really want to, bitter people will, when you're languishing in jail. We saw some of those involved in the Encro who look like bank managers and not your everyday villains, but up there for what belongs to the Manchester side of things, it has a profound effect. But his barrister says that he should be treated a little bit more lenient, that he's seen the error of his ways, that his life's in danger, he's got a family, he has to live the rest of his days in isolation and that kind of... Does he? Really? I know, but it seems like he has. So I don't see this ending well for James Rothwell. It feels like he's got a long period ahead of him. For a man who hasn't really taken a life, it really is, I would say, a sentence beyond what, you know, the charges are, if you like. But if that's the way that it ends for him, and the mitigation, you know what makes me laugh? Because normally when you get found guilty or you're getting ready for sentence and you're allowed a bit of mitigation, and you know, well, really, you're going to be touching over 30 years at the very least, barristers feel the need to get up there and plead for some kind of mercy. but they're allowed to do it. But no, it hasn't really worked out, and he's got a long road ahead of him. He's ended up with more years than somebody and some people that were reported on that took lives. So no, just reporting on it, and that's how the game is, and that's the way that it could always end, especially with big players, big things involved, and them having the real evidence live and direct by way of phones. All right, so just reporting from Yami B TV.